Yeah, just kind of comes. It's not on you guys yet. It will be. Not yet. It's live. It's not on you guys yet. I'm just waiting. So hi everyone. I am here at the Letitia James at the Attorney General's office in Albany, New York. Guys, this is what you've been waiting for. We are starting to build a crowd right now, and they were waiting for us, okay? So that we've got 3 state troopers behind me right here, you guys can see. We are a peaceful protest, a peaceful demonstration here. What we're about to do is serve Letitia James because under her watch right now, families are being horrendously abused through the family court system. Federal crimes are being committed, and we're going to read this out loud today. But right now I'm going to go inside and we're going to serve this beauty to our Attorney General, we the people who are the rightful bosses. These are all our public servants, and so we're going to go in and we're going to serve this first, and then we're going to ask everybody to go ahead and watch party this. We're going to ask everybody to share it with your friends list in your groups, and be sure to individually invite your friends list so that everybody can know what next steps are as we do this process right now. This is the lawful process. This is how it's supposed to be done. So we know that everyone's a victim. We know that I do this all over the nation. We know that I have police officers coming to me for help. We know that we have politicians coming to me for help. We know that we have families far and wide coming to me for help because the family court does not discriminate, abusing everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, a Republican, an independent. It doesn't matter what label you put on you. It doesn't matter what race, what religion you are. It doesn't matter how wealthy or poor or in between you are. Family court does not discriminate, abusing you and your families. And it is a treasonous organization. So we're going to go inside right now, and you guys are going to follow us. And I'm going to have, here we are. Let me just flip this for you. There it goes. Good. Okay, so you can take that gently like that and just follow us in.
Yeah, like okay. It's phone.
Yeah, come on. And this actually has 48 hours on it that she has to respond to this. Thank you. You're very welcome. Now, I don't know if you need a file number or something for me?
No,
or?
no, this is fine. We'll take it and pass it along. Thank you.
Okay, and your name is?
Sharon.
Sharon. Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you. Hey, guys. We'll all come out here.
This is an angel in our time. Francisco. God's tears formed into a human being, defending the innocent.
And I'm just going to wait on
The media?
Yeah, but I just need the, I'm going to read. Here. Okay. Come around behind and then.
We can't read it there.
I mean, I can. Would you like me to, should I read it in there?
I think so. Good.
Okay, so I'm sorry guys, we're going to come in here. Follow me in here.
I needed to lose weight,
Yeah,
that's
we're
good.
gonna read it right from here. Okay, fine. So if you guys want to even take seats or whatever. Okay, so bear with us.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so if you guys want to come, yeah, just kind of gather around. And we want to thank you guys.
Mommy.
Can we give first a round of applause for one of God's angels, Francisco?
He saved a lot of us.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say I'm very grateful for all the wonderful people that are here. I know many of you as advocates as well. Jillian Gordon, I know she is a psychotherapist, and
I'm a clinical social
she's a
worker.
clinical social worker, and she also has been deemed an expert many, many, many times, and she has firsthand witnessed the abuses of the family court judges, especially in Ulster County, but she knows the pattern of abuse like nobody's business.
Patterns and practices.
Yeah, it's just despicable. But we have such a nice variety of families here right now and advocates, and I want to thank Anthony Sabelli over here. And
Nice to meet you.
just a lot of hard work put into this. Sarah, Dipper, and also she's not able to be here today, but Alicia, should I say Jackson, Alicia Jackson. We want to just thank her too. And guys, it's okay to have high energy in here. This is our house. This is our house, right? So first I'm going to just read right now before I tell you everything that we just did. We just served the Attorney General, Letitia James. We put her on notice orally, an oral putting on notice, as you guys may have watched on January the 8th, directly following the protest for the forcing of the vaccinations. And I want to read something from someone that I'm going to quote in a minute. But what we did is we served, this is a sworn affidavit, and it is in support, and I have to read it, sorry, of number 1, to demand to cease and desist and repeal the New York State family court system effective immediately. Number 2, criminal complaints and demand for immediate criminal prosecutions of individuals mentioned in Exhibit B, but not limited to. So I will read the judges' names off shortly. Let me just quote this first. This is something that I found on the internet. I believe this gentleman's name, and I don't want to mispronounce, is John Sinkay, and he's from Branford, Connecticut. And I found this quote. He said, "The general misconception is that any statute passed by legislators bearing the appearance of law constitutes the law of the land. The United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any statute to be valid must be in agreement. It is impossible for both the Constitution and the law violating it to be valid. One must prevail." This is succinctly stated as follows. The general rule is that an unconstitutional statute, though having the form and name of law, is in reality no law. In legal contemplation is as inoperative as if it had never been passed. Such a statute leaves the question that it purports to settle just as it would be had the statute not be enacted. Since an unconstitutional law is void, the general principles follow that it imposes no duties, confers no rights, creates no office, bestows no power or authority on anyone. Did you know we're free? And affords no protection and justifies no acts performed under it. A void act cannot be legally consistent with a valid one. An unconstitutional law cannot operate to supersede any existing valid law. Indeed, insofar as a statute runs counter to the fundamental law of the land, it is superseded thereby. No one is bound to obey an unconstitutional law, and no courts are bound to enforce it. So the word of the day is, I for one will refuse to comply.
Yes, I refuse.
Okay. So with this document, you guys can add your own amendment to it. You can add your own judges and CPS fraudulent workers, anybody that has been involved in quote-unquote family court cases. You guys can email to this office, the Attorney General's office in Albany, New York, and you will be added to this. So just, this would be your heading. And when you email me, and I will have the email on this live feed shortly, when you email me, I will share each copy with you, including all the laws that they have violated for 6 decades. And once I do that, you guys can add your own notarized under oath copy to this because we are demanding prosecution of these so-called family court judges.
Abolish and arrest!
Amen. The people of the state of New York demand that you, and this would be Letitia James, respond within 48 hours to rebut the following information provided in this affidavit. This is formal notice on the continued and unfettered abuse and lack of accountability of the New York State family courts. Their use of Social Security Title IV programs is directly responsible for the trafficking of children. In the state of New York, as well as committing serious human rights abuses and crimes. If you believe that any of the information, claims, reference of laws are untrue, please rebut this affidavit and contract point by point under the penalty of perjury, as well as under oath or affirmation with jurat. If you fail to respond to rebut this affidavit contract, you agree to all the terms and conditions within. Hence, this contract will stand as law. You may rebut this affidavit by sending your affidavit to the mailing address above, and that would be punished for protecting and we the people, which is all of us and all of you. The people of the state of New York demand and recommend that together we, 1, effectively abolish the New York State family court system as it is, arrest the judges for knowingly committing crimes against children and families and engaging in other nefarious acts. You guys.
Yes! No more! We want justice!
Number 2, using your resources as New York State Attorney General, have your office demand criminal investigations immediately. So that state, local, federal crimes, constitutional violations, and human rights abuses no longer happen during your time in office. If any statement... If any statement within any law which is passed is unconstitutional, the whole law is unconstitutional. That is Marbury versus Madison in reference to the U.S. Constitution. In quotations, no provision of the Constitution is designed to be without effect. Anything that is in conflict is null and void of law. Clearly, for a secondary law to come in conflict with any supreme law was illogical, for certainly the supreme law would prevail over all other laws, and certainly our forefathers had intended that the supreme law would be the basis of all law, and for any law to come in conflict would be null and void of law. It would bear no power to enforce. It would bear no obligation to obey. It would purport to settle as if it had ever existed. For unconstitutionality would date from the enactment of such law, not from the date so branded in an open court of law. No courts are bound to uphold it, and no citizens are bound to obey it.
Yes! We're done!
It operates as a near nullity or a fiction of law.
What a nightmare.
1, judges in the New York State family courts are empowered with the sound discretion to evaluate the credibility of witnesses while acting under color of the law and are to make decisions under the children's best interest. Standard. These judges who swore an oath upon the Constitution intentionally deprive people of their rights daily. In the family court, there are no constitutional protections due to it being run under Uniform Commercial Code and Admiralty law. In the venue of the New York State Family Court, members of the bar are constantly deceiving and preying upon families, instigating, enticing, and exasperating conflict, hence leading countless families towards more injurious situations.
Our kids are not for sale. That's right.
Racketeering.
Amen.
Racketeering.
Human trafficking.
Due to the judges being under contract with Social Security Title IV funding agencies, as well as their obligation to New York State to create a custodial parent and a non-custodial parent, or place the children in care, which is even more lucrative. The judges are not at all impartial, and therefore their judicial performance is tainted, as they are in positions of emoluments as well. This system is operating under the color of law through the application of statutes and codes, rendering it de facto. 2, Child Protective Service workers knowingly provide false information daily and are rewarded through the removal of children being incentivized.
Can you repeat that, please?
I will repeat that. Child Protective Service workers knowingly provide false information daily and are rewarded through the removal of children being incentivized, while CPS workers are working for independent for-profit businesses and corporations. They are, in fact, not government. They are, in fact, not government. The fact that they are incorporated renders them not be considered de jure, while the judges, attorneys, CPS, and others are all conspiring against the rights of the people while acting under color of law. This is not a system that is favorable to the human rights of the people. And in addition, we, the people, never voted the family courts in.
That's right.
That's right.
Stop endangering the human people and our children.
The codes and statutes that have been able to grant these individuals their perceived authority is how they act under color of law. The term color of law means the appearance or semblance without the substance of a legal right. The term implies a misuse of power made possible because the wrongdoer is clothed with the authority of the state. 3. Under Punish for Protecting Incorporated and For the Children on September 9th, 2019, I, along with several others, put U.S. D.C. For the Children Child Trafficking Briefing, which you can see on social media and YouTube, Punish for Protecting. Francesca Amato, which is myself, of Punish for Protecting Incorporated, also put the New York State Assembly on notice with regarding human rights crisis in front of Assemblywomen Ellen Jaffe and Assemblywoman Walker. And this was on November 21st. You can see this at the New York State Assembly website, where millions have viewed that, and on social media and YouTube.
The whole world.
The whole world. On January 8th, I came into this office. I sat with Cassandra Walker here, very kind woman, and in that office right there, I put the New York State Attorney General's office on oral notice. Today we put her on notice in a sworn affidavit by the people of the state of New York. She is the Associate Director of Legislative Affairs Executive Division, and we placed this office, as I said, on verbal notice, while thousands of New York families chose to stand up for their inalienable rights, parental rights, child's health rights, and the right to uphold religious exemptions for vaccinations, which are untested for their effectiveness. In confirming the facts already known, the truth is that left unchecked, this system has become the gateway to human and child trafficking and jails parents for standing up for their rights.
Yes.
Yes.
I was jailed for
Right.
Not again.
We tried,
31 days
we
until the
all
bond out.
thought
Not
that the
again.
system was going to
I
work
wanna be
for
free.
us.
For a crime to exist,
We
there
all
must
thought it was
be
gonna
an
work.
injured party. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed upon one of this exercise of constitutional rights. Shearer versus Cullen.
Did you mention something about imprisoning parents for the
Jailing.
terrible injustice, that the fact that they love their children?
Yeah.
How dare you love your child?
Right, how dare you love
Pending-
your child.
pending
Protect your
imprisonment.
children.
Like us, pending imprisonment done Friday.
Yeah. Families and children are affected in so many unconscionable ways, while the judges and the attorneys, who are all officers of the court, are violating local, state, and federal laws, violating their oath of office, code of ethics, hence committing crimes in plain view in daily systemic fraud. While these families are being torn apart by judges, lawyers, and bar members who are not loyal to their clients, but only to the venue as officers of the court, they target families to bring in more business. Many of these courts are listed as registered as not-for-profits in the New York Department of State and are grantees under Health and Human Services and the Administration of Children and Families, receiving exorbitant funding based off their systemic fraud, and we have Exhibit A. It is irrefutable, to say the least, that our elected and government officials typically do not have the conscience or human decency to respond to us adequately, as it is well known fraud, and they want to stay far away from speaking about it. Thousands of parents and child victims of this system are connected every day throughout the United States, whether that be through social media, conference calls, or through a court watch for each other, while all levels of our government have chosen to turn a blind eye. But we're not blind, right?
No.
The people continue to support one another. It is the most common response to our efforts in seeking assistance and in seeking accountability to hear that it is a civil matter, or that the investigate agency or public officials do not have jurisdiction over the matter. Well, guess what? We're the jurisdiction.
That's right. Enough is enough.
Here is a short list just to name some of the investigative agencies that have ignored the countless victims of this abusive system, or have made effort to go back to inform the perpetrators to what has been reported regarding their activities, which resulted in retaliation in family courts or via CPS. New York State Department of Investigations, ACS Commissioner's Office, Judicial Grievance Committees, Public Integrity Bureau, NYPD, New York State Police, all district attorneys' offices, New York FBI offices, United States attorneys' offices, New York Department of State, bar associations, and more.
They work together to take our kids.
And they all say they
For
have no
child
jurisdiction.
trafficking.
Guilderland Police.
How do you have no jurisdiction
Colony
over
Police.
the lowest
They do
court
nothing.
in the state? It's the lowest court in the nation. The family court is a literal kangaroo court. How do all these hierarchies not have jurisdiction?
I have one question for this.
Okay, can you hold it to the end, or do you mind?
Why do we
Okay.
embarrass kangaroos?
Why do we embarrass kangaroos?
They're not
That's
as
true.
cruel
Kangaroos
as
are
family
great.
court.
Kangaroos wouldn't do this to their own people.
Right.
And as the Attorney General of the state of New York, you, Letitia James, can stop this immediately. We, the people of the state of New York, would appreciate if you did so immediately.
Yeah! Woo!
While there may be some need for a Department of Children and Families, the current system is entirely tainted and doing more harm than good to the people that it is intended on protecting.
Amen.
Due to these family courts not being courts of record, it is very common that judges are accused of creating false court records, Anthony McGinty, and other frivolous orders. Due to the judicial abuse of this unsupervised free-for-all, we have parents who are barred from seeing their children based off of lies. Anyone here?
Right here. Right here.
Parents accused of neglecting children when who they never even met, as well as parents who are threatened with jail due to them taking their child to the doctor for concerning issues. The Supreme Court has stated there is a presumption that parents act in their child's best interest. Parham versus J.R. There is normally no reason or compelling interest for the state to inject itself into the private realm of the family to further question a parent's ability to make the best decisions regarding their children.
That's right. You're the ones that are endangering our children. You put them in the hands of pedophiles.
The state may not interfere in child rearing decisions when a parent is available. Troxel versus Grantsville. The ideology of depriving, controlling, and oppressing people by using their own children is not a new idea. The current framework of the family court system is similarly designed and based on the thoughts and beliefs that were successfully implemented by individuals such as Adolf Hitler. While this may seem highly controversial, this system was implemented through the notion of a snuck premise regarding the children. Finally, the New York State family court system has become a Holocaust. The media cannot any longer cover up this crisis. The state must declare the child to be the most precious treasure of the people. As
Yes,
well
they are. They are our gift. Stop being cowards.
Face reality.
as long as the government
Our
is
gifts. They shouldn't be able to take our gifts away from us. Those children were given to us by the Lord, who bestowed upon us the decency to have the right from the Lord to be a parent and love your child. And then some man is going to tell you you can't be a parent? No, not anymore. I'm taking my children back, and you're all
Amen.
going to prison.
Amen.
That's right.
Rentals don't own
Who carried your baby?
No.
You
Yep.
or the person that is abusing them now in the name of foster
That's
care?
right.
Yes.
That's right.
My children was kidnapped from trafficked by CPS and the court systems. This has to end.
That's right. The state must declare the children to be the most precious treasure of the people. As long as the government is perceived as working for the benefit of the children, the people will happily endure almost any curtailment of liberty and almost any deprivation. Adolf Hitler. That's his
Yes.
quote.
Family terrorism.
It is
Domestic
obvious.
terrorism.
Amen. It is obvious that the lack of accountability in this system in New York State and throughout the entire United States is part of a gigantic and elaborate scam that the family courts are obviously involved in, placing the needs of their states first so that it can participate in receiving federal funding while knowingly and willingly depriving people of their rights. In doing so, these judges are in violation of their oaths. They have only proven loyal to the Title IV agencies that they are in contract with as paid administrators. Throughout the entire ordeal, parents and children have been subject to deprivations of rights under color of law and have been torn apart.
Yes.
Parents are committing suicide, resorting to substance abuse as they are being separated from their children who are being lost, stolen, given to abusers, given to pedophiles.
Given to who?
drugged,
Given to who?
Abusers.
Given to who? Given to who? Given to who? To abusers.
Yes.
To abusers.
Pedophiles.
In exchange of money, depriving them of love and exchanging the love for monetary cruelty.
Children are not real estate.
That's right.
They're not property. They're not property.
Forcing parents to divorce.
Forcing parents to divorce.
Yes, they're trying for a year and a half to force me to
Splitting
divorce.
up 10 whole happy homes. I see it every day. Okay. They are drugged, sexually abused, medically kidnapped, neglected, trafficked, and more. None of this would be slightly possible if perjury was enforced. Yet in the New York State family courts, perjury seems highly encouraged. The children and families and the family courts are claiming to protect are actually preying upon them. This crisis may not have started with your office, meaning here, Letitia James, at the Attorney General of the state of New York, has the authority to effectively stop it and truly help assist those you swore to protect. Countless families have given notice upon your office and have received no response.
That's right. Do your job.
Do your job is
Decades.
right. Ignore is what they do.
With regards to their claims of the egregious
want change.
acts
I've
that
been
have been
asking for a
perpetrated
long
against
time.
them and due to continue to suffer, even though New York State is a one-party consent state to record, usually all evidence typically gets denied when it is damning against CPS and bar members. First Amendment. A judge in the Queens Family Court has stated that she is not the proper investigative bureau to hold someone accountable for perjury. After a respondent was able to clearly demonstrate that the CPS workers, had committed serious perjury to an effort to taint the case and keep him away from his children to, assist in custody cases. Judges, lawyers, court clerks, staff attorneys, CPS workers, interpreters, etc., are all in collusion with one another against the rights of those who appear before them.
They're working together and using our kids to make a profit.
A big profit. Child slavery.
Violations of the
Worse than
4th
Epstein.
and 5th Amendments commonly occur as CPS workers will attempt to engage parents without any court orders or warrants. CPS workers get away with lying in reports, lying to other parents, lying to their supervisors, and committing perjury while testifying in the family courts. We have even seen cases that, due to their lies, resulted in criminal cases for parents, in which they, the parents, went on to beat the charges by demonstrating the lies regarding the same incident through showing the testimony of the family court. Once again, when it comes to bringing any evidence against those loyal to this apparatus, thus demonstrating nefarious acts, a parent's claim usually gets brushed under the table as it is not in the best interest of the courts and their money-making scam. Unconstitutional official acts. The general misconception is that any statute passed by legislators bearing the appearance of law constitutes the law of the land. The United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any statute to be valid must be in agreement. It is impossible for both the Constitution and a law violating it to be valid. One must prevail. The general rule is that an unconstitutional statute, though having the form and name of law, is in reality no law, but is wholly void and ineffective for any purpose, since unconstitutionality dates from the time of its enactment. And this is what I read from the quote earlier. I'm going to skip on for time's purpose. A void act cannot be legally consistent with a valid one. An unconstitutional law cannot operate to supersede any existing valid law. Indeed, insofar as a statute runs counter to the fundamental law of the land, it is superseded thereby. No one is bound to obey an unconstitutional law, and no court is bound to enforce it. Strictly speaking, an unconstitutional statute is not law and should not be called law, even if it is sustained by a court. For a finding that a statute or other official act is constitutional does not make it so. Okay, so everybody has to understand that. They use statutes against you and they're not law, so they're unlawful, period. Or confer any authority to anyone to enforce it. All citizens and legal residents of the United States, by their presence on the territory of the United States, are subject to the militia duty, the duty of the social compact that creates the society, which requires that each alone and in concert with others not only obey the Constitution and constitutional official acts, but help enforce them if necessary, at the risk of one's life. And this is actually William from the New York State Constitution Party. Yeah, come on, yeah.
Resurrect the Constitution.
William. The Constitution Party of New York
Amen.
is your best bet to stand with you 100%.
We still have a constitution.
Nobody else, no other political party. If you want Republicans and Democrats to be that, you know where you stand right now.
I'm glad we still have a constitution. I wasn't aware of it.
Right.
A lot of people aren't aware of it.
All citizens and legal residents of the United States, by their presence on the territory of the United States, are subject to the militia duty, the duty of the social compact that creates the society, which requires that each alone and in concert with others not only obey the Constitution and constitutional official acts, but help enforce them, if necessary, at the risk of one's life. Any unconstitutional act of an official will at least be a violation of the oath of that official to execute the duties of his office, and therefore grounds for his removal from office. No official immunity or privilege or position survive the commission of unlawful acts. If it violates, it's also likely to be a crime, and the militia duty obligates anyone aware of such a violation to investigate it, gather evidence for a prosecution, make an arrest, and if necessary, seek an indictment from a grand jury. And if one is obtained, prosecute the offender in a court of law. These are just some of the federal crimes and violations under color of law across the family court system in the state of New York, but not limited to. Civil action for deprivation of rights, conspiracy to interfere with civil rights, action for neglect to prevent, and then we just go on, misprison and felony, conspiracy against rights, deprivation, etc. Fraud and white-collar crimes.
Don't forget to mention torture.
And torture, yes. Hold on. Yeah. Torture. And this is torture. This is torture.
Speak it, say it. What?
They're violating the RICO Act themselves.
Families, because this is affecting everybody.
And all of this was reported in 2010 to this office when Governor Cuomo was AG.
We've been reporting it when Mason DeCosmo was murdered.
Andrew Cuomo.
And Anthony McGinty saw the mother as not a problem for allowing her child to be murdered.
And got payoffs for it. Living proof I have it.
From the Nexium cult. His
We have
campaign
all
was
the
bankrolled.
paperwork.
Fraud and white-collar crimes while engaged in human and child trafficking. The New York State Family Court judges are not acting in the capacity of any judge, being of whom is impartial while acting under the color of law. Instead, how could they be impartial if they're working for a system? Instead, they are acting solely in the capacity as a paid administrator under contract with Title IV agencies as recipients or grantees under registered not-for-profit corporations as shown below. In New York State, these judges or administrators work to provide a non-custodial parent so that they can order child support and get matching funds for the state via federal government. Placing children in foster care brings them even more
their
money.
schooling against the law.
Say it again.
Changing their location where they live, even changing their state location, changing their schooling against the New York State education laws.
And fraudulent documents given people that isn't even this girl's parents that has her today.
Going against
Child
the parents.
sex trafficking.
Going
It's
against the
allowed.
parents by not giving it to the child's family.
Let me try to read through this first, and then everybody, I want you guys to add all your comments.
Yes.
Exhibit A right here, this shows the Queens Family Court. This is just one example. Some are not-for-profit, some are for-profit, some are profit, even though they use this, guys. This is the Queens Family Court is a registered corporation and is a grantee under the Administration for Children and Families.
Yeah.
Who is under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. You know, those guys that admitted that 88% of child trafficking comes through them?
Yeah.
Remember, those guys, they said it out of their own mouth. That's how oblivious they are.
Yeah.
They admitted it and didn't know that they were talking about themselves.
They're not oblivious. They know what's going on. They're part of the problem.
We are the problem.
They're creating the problem intentionally to profit.
Big payoffs.
Conspiracy to defraud the United States via federal grants. According to the HHS website, federal grant dollars must be spent as intended. As a grantee, you need to comply with program expectations. Use federal funds in an efficient manner and remain fiscally responsible. HRSA provides oversight, guidance, and technical assistance to help ensure you spend grant dollars appropriately and you prevent waste, fraud, and abuse. All organizations are at risk for fraud. Healthcare organizations may be at a heightened risk. Fraudulent billing, unnecessary services or prescriptions, kickbacks, and duplicate claims are just a few of the kinds of schemes that target programs and beneficiaries. Fraud is a deliberate deception to secure an unfair gain.
Having your
Waste.
kids' stuff, your rights to your children signed off on so that you can put them in a special education program when the school district is supposed to be paying for it anyway because it's an educational program, but yet you're having the parents sign off their rights to their children under CPS and then charging the parents child support.
Manipulations of the system.
Double dipping.
Waste is the unnecessary incurrence of cost as a result of inefficient practices, systems, and controls. Abuse is the intentional misuse of authority. Position, funds, or resources for personal gain. The consequences of fraud, waste, and abuse can range from modification of the terms and conditions of award to draw down restrictions to debarment from receiving future funding or even criminal prosecution. They can be prevented by establishing adequate internal controls, segregating duties. The General Conspiracy Statute, 18 U.S.C. 371, creates an offense if two or more persons conspire either to commit any offense against the United States or defraud the United States or any agency thereof in any manner or for any purpose, emphasis added, Project 10th Annual Survey of White-Collar Crime, and we've given more. The operative language is the so-called defraud clause that prohibits conspiracies to defraud the United States. This clause creates a separate offense from the offense clause. In Section 371, both offenses require the traditional elements of Section 371. Sure. Conspiracy including an illegal agreement, criminal intent, and proof of an override. I'm sure they need my help too. The statute is broad
Maybe that's
enough,
why they walk through.
they're listening intently, because they know I'm right, and
They wanna
they're not
cry
all
on your
bad.
shoulder.
They're not all bad, though. Some of these guys really, they come to me,
And they wanna
you don't know what they
cry
do to them. They
on your
destroy them,
shoulder.
because once you remove one of these guys, you know, and they're not all, some of them are horrible, we know,
Threaten their
but
families.
they just, I have them. I mean, they're the good ones. They're the ones that really didn't, you know.
Yes.
Okay. Any conspiracy.
Look at the innocence of this angel, Francisco. Can we give it a round of applause?
It'd be nice to get the whole entire state, New York State Police Department, right? And all of them to come us with them against them. Be nice, wouldn't it? So any police officers that are watching that still has a heart.
Would you be so kind and run for governor?
That's what I tried to do. I tried. I did try.
They didn't break the system.
They chose Como over me. I can't figure out why. Oh, I know why. I don't release criminals.
And because there's voter fraud, excessive voter fraud happens.
To conspire to defraud the United States means to primarily cheat the government out of property or money, but it also means to interfere with or obstruct one of its lawful governmental functions by deceit, craft, or trickery, or at least by means that are dishonest. It is not necessary that the government shall be subjected to property or pecuniary loss by the fraud, but only that its legitimate official action and purpose shall be defeated by misrepresentation, chicane, or the overreaching of those charged with carrying out the government's intention. So I'm not going to read through all of that portion. I just want you all to know. Hold on one second. We're going to get to the judges that we have on here. We went over with the Title IV, the grants to the states, reference to the child support and the contractors, how they are not adhering to the bar.
We got to cover that.
With all of the law enforcement that we have contacted and met with, including the FBI, who does not wish to investigate thus far.
Yep. Refuse.
Many of these agencies has told us to go to the bar. So go back to the criminal and tell the criminal to investigate themselves. As if it's a branch of government, as which it merely seems it has the power and ability of. The conduct of these judges, along with their orders, lack of merit and must be called into question with the information provided below regarding the Bar Association's own policies. The following is a reference to the publication which covers professional responsibility for the American Bar Association's Model Rules of Professional Conduct and American Bar Association Model Code of Judicial Conduct.
Yeah.
It is not a finishing school, I can tell you that.
As well as those who are fraudulently
Rule
created.
4.1.
Fraudulently create in documents to support that they are lawyers and they're not.
Right, exactly.
Rule 4.1, truthfulness in statements to others, transactions with persons other than clients. In the course of representing a client, a lawyer shall not knowingly make false statements of material fact or law to a third person, or fail to disclose a material fact to a third person when disclosure is necessary to avoid assisting a criminal or fraudulent act by a client, unless disclosure is prohibited. By a show of hands, who has this happened to?
Yep.
Okay. American Bar Association Model Code of Conduct, Preamble. An independent, fair, and impartial judiciary is indispensable to our system of justice. The United States legal system is based upon the principle that an independent, impartial, and competent judiciary composed of men and women of integrity. Somebody has to define integrity. Will interpret and apply.
William Webster would never wrote such a word had she known what this is.
Right. Will interpret and apply the law that governs our society. Thus, the judiciary plays a central role in preserving the principles of justice and the rule of law inherent in all the rules contained in this code, and the precepts that judges, individually and collectively, must respect and honor the judicial office as public trust. Anybody have public trust in the judiciary? Anybody? And strive to maintain and enhance confidence in the legal system. Does anybody have confidence in the legal system? Anybody? Anybody trust the legal system? Do you feel safe walking into a family court?
No.
Do you feel safe when somebody just decides to take your children by packing guns, coming and surrounding your home to take your children because somebody left Cheerios on the floor, or a neighbor called up the CPS and pretended that something happened.
So they can use them for child trafficking.
Or because they didn't go along with the grooming of sex trafficking.
No jury trial by anyone's peers.
Or they need a slave. They need a child as a slave to rake in the big bucks.
Answer the question if I trust in the legal system. I do not trust the legal system. I trust me. I trust us. I trust what we're doing. I do not trust our legal system. 0%. 100% I trust in us.
In our legal
Wait,
system.
wait, wait,
I went for
let's just
help
be
as a
clear real
victim.
quick
I
on
got
that,
no
so
help.
we're
My
not-
abuser went for power, and that's exactly what he got. He got the power, and he has my children.
So, let's be very clear about what's happening here. Is the family court is not part of what it seems to be, the New York State court system. It's a black hole that parents and children fall into, and you're never to be heard again, you're never to be responded to again by any public officials, and your children are being trafficked for the judges and the bar members' pecuniary gain. And then they have also emoluments, and they're in contract with Title IV funding, as well as there's secret bonds being traded associated with these court cases. And that's what we're trying to find more information about.
Including the 18B panel is joined with the Bar Association. The 18B panel in the family court system is joined in with the Bar Association.
We're going to show you proof of one of the services. I know everybody here has served, and multiple people have served, but just look at this picture if you guys can see. I know it's a cracked screen, and if you can say what that is.
Okay, this is my daughter, Jasana Santos Colon, right here.
Yeah.
We met with Letitia James in Brooklyn at a town hall meeting.
Her daughter?
That's my daughter.
I've seen her on the New York
On the
Post.
news. Yeah, she's been
The
on
New
the
York
news
Post.
because they hunted her down
It's
and
interesting
arrested
that
her.
Essence didn't call you for a model.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Post.
this is the letter that she gave her, telling her about everything that happened to her, and she never contacted her back, did anything.
Say it again, say it
Say
again.
it loud.
This is Letitia James, attorney listed Letitia James.
Where is she?
September 23rd, 2019, in Brooklyn, a town hall meeting. My daughter met with her, and she gave her a 3-page letter explaining everything that's happened to her. She stood and she begged her, "Can you please read it? Can you help me?" My daughter gave it to her.
The
She
daughter
gave it-
is here?
This is my daughter.
No, but
That's my daughter right
that's
there with
the
the
daughter
pink.
handing it to
Hand it to her,
Okay.
and she says, "I may lose it. I may lose it. Give
Who
it to."
said?
Letitia James says she may lose it, but she had a folder. She said, "Give it to her people." So my daughter gave it to 3-4 people, and they never got back to her, nothing.
When was that?
September 23rd, 2019.
And her assistant also
They
had it.
redirected so that
Her
they
assistant
can-
also had a copy of it.
I'm
What?
going to read. Go ahead. Go ahead.
They redirect any paperwork and any of these people that are coming forward reporting these crimes. They redirect it to other people so that they can wipe their hands clean of it and not be held accountable.
This is my house. No. Okay, there's 4 canons on here. A judge shall uphold and promote the independence, integrity, and impartiality of the judiciary, and shall avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety. Anthony McGinty. A judge shall perform the duties of judicial office impartially, competently, and diligently. A judge shall conduct the judge's personal and extrajudicial activities to minimize the risk of conflict with the obligations of the judicial office. That was 3. And Canon 4, a judge or candidate for judicial office shall not engage in political or campaign activity that is inconsistent with the independence, integrity, or impartiality of the judiciary. And I'm skipping through some of this. I'm going to get to the judges. And just remember, if your judge is not on here, you're going to send them in, okay? We're going to tell you how to do that, to add to this. We, the people of the state of New York, grateful to Almighty God for our freedom, in order to secure its blessings, do establish this Constitution. I'm reading from the New York Constitution, Declaration of Rights Preamble. Rights, privileges, and franchise secured, power of legislature to dispense with primary elections in certain cases, Section 1, no member of this state shall be disenfranchised, 1, or deprived of any of the rights or privileges secured to any citizen thereof, unless by the law of the land, or the judgment of his or her people that know you, not who the judiciary pre-picks. Your peers are who know your character. except that the legislator may provide that there shall be no primary election held to nominate candidates for public office or to elect persons to party positions for any political party or parties in any unit of representation of the state from which such candidates or persons are nominated or elected whenever there is no contest or contests for such nominations or election as may be prescribed by general law. So if you understand that, that means that pretty much everybody in the state of New York has to leave their seat. But that's another topic. 25, trust relationship of public officials and the people. Protection of rights of the people require for the people to have their interests covered as they are the grantors of the trust powers you hold as trustees and public servants, 1877, Georgia Constitution, as ratified without subsequent amendments. Article 1, the Bill of Rights, Section 1, Paragraph 1. All government of rights originates with the people. Is founded upon their will only. Let me say that again for anybody that doesn't understand. All government of right originates with the people. Is founded upon their will only and is instituted solely for the good of the whole. Public officers are the trustees and servants of the people and at all times amenable to them or us. What did Sandra Day O'Connor say? The U.S. Supreme Court ruled on the issue of grandparent visitation rights in 2000, case of 530 U.S. 57, which involved a dispute between a Washington state mother and her ex-boyfriend. Yeah, please. Shh. She's getting it. Parents. Ex-boyfriend's parents. When Brad Troxell, the child's father, died in 1993, his parents informed the mother, Tommy Granville, that they wanted to maintain a relationship with the couple's two daughters. And I don't have a problem with that, but this is the law. Washington law at the time allowed any person to petition for visitation at any time and gave state courts discretion to grant that visits when it was in the child's best interest. But the majority of the Troxell court struck down the state statute as unconstitutional. This is how extremely strong mother and father's rights are when you're safe, loving, and fit, might I add. Finding it interfered with parents' rights to raise their children as they pleased. Writing for the majority, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor said, "The liberty interest at issue is the case. The interest of parents in the care, custody, and control of their children is perhaps the oldest of the fundamental liberty interests recognized by this court. Where in the law did the state get the power when working in private businesses to overrule mothers and fathers and let people or corporations take kids from parents? Let's check the main three laws used to say family court or CPS has power. They don't. We have ASFA, Section 401, preservation or reasonable parenting. Nothing in this act. Let me say this again because this is so important. Nothing. Can anybody say that word? Nothing in this act is intended to disrupt the family unnecessarily or intrude inappropriately into family life. Nothing. To prohibit the use of reasonable methods of parental discipline or to prescribe a particular method of parenting. Social Security Act of 1935, original legislative intent.
Just turned on me.
No, keep going. Keep going.
No.
Oh, it turned towards you?
Yeah.
Oh, hi everybody. Hang on. Well, we like to see you too, Joseph. Okay. We thank God for Joseph.
I'm a humble man.
Title, what letter is that? What? 11. Title 11, thank you. General provisions, definition, section 1101. Nothing in this act. What? Nothing. In this act shall be construed as authorizing any federal official, agent, or representative in carrying out any of the provisions of this act to take charge of any child over the objection of either of the parents or such child. You know what that means? If you're in a dispute and you're a safe, loving, protective parent and they're not looking at a criminal record of the other, if you are the one of the two that will not allow it, that means that your rights supersede. And I'll teach you that at some point.
So give the kids back.
Yeah. Because it says over the objection of either, not both, either. Think about it. CAPTA, Section 2, notwithstanding any other provision of law and Inuit? I can't read. Inuit. Okay, as defined under Section 8901 of Title V United States Code, who is participating or who is eligible to participate in health benefits program offered under the Retired Federal Employees Health Benefit Act, and I'm going to skip through all the codes, may elect in accordance with regulations prescribed by the United States Civil Service coverage under such act. Corporate state actors have failed to give full disclosure to the people and police that the very programs that are allowing family court and CPS to provide services limit their actions by original legislative intent. The programs were not meant to be used as an authority to snatch little ones from their parents, and as a matter of fact, the very laws prohibit it. New York Declaration of Rights, Due Process of Law, Section 4, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. When you don't have a jury trial of your peers and they take your children, they have just violated that law. That's called treason.
Yep.
The state cannot diminish the rights of the people. Hurtado versus California, an unconstitutional act is not law. It imposes no duties, affords no protection. It creates no office. It is in legal contemplation as inoperative as though it had never been passed. That's why we're here today, because none of this has been passed. They usurped our authority. She is put on notice. 48 hours. 48 hours. I'm going to now read the list of judges that we have.
You gotta read this page.
I'm so excited.
You gotta read the whole page.
Here.
Put the whole page.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Take
Notice to Letitia James, New York State Attorney General. Was just given a bit ago, and she has 48 hours to comply. If she does not comply, we rise up.
That's right. Yes!
Whereas the Attorney General of the State of New York, the people of New York expect you to have accountability over the court system as the top legal officer and protect
Do the job
the
you're getting paid
people.
for.
Start working!
I know you guys are
Do
excited,
your job!
but let me read, please. I have to put this on notice for the public to see, and then we can go crazy after this. Okay, I'm going to read it from the beginning. Whereas the Attorney General of the State of New York, the people of New York expect you to have accountability over the court system as the top legal officer and protect the people of the State of New York. We know that you are not responsible for creating the family courts, but what has become of this venue is total lawlessness, and it must end immediately. We ask that your office work closely with us. Whereas Attorney General of the State of New York, we demand that you provide transparency in this office, as well as take certain measures to hold the individuals accountable who have masqueraded as judges while operating under the guise of the child's best interest standard, and who have been in position of emoluments as well as violation of their oaths, canons, state laws, federal laws, New York State Constitution, and U.S. Constitution, and as a result of all those violations have caused irreparable harm to children and families. Whereas 18 U.S.C. 2382, misprision of felony, holds that whoever having knowledge of the actual commission of a felony cognizable by the court of the United States conceals and does not, as soon as possible, make known the same to some civil or military authority under the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. Whereas 18 U.S.C. 4, misprision of treason, holds that whoever owing allegiance to the United States and having knowledge of the commission of any treason against them conceals and does not, as soon as may be, disclose and make known the same to the President or to some judge of the United States or to the governor or to some judge or justice of a particular state is guilty of misprision of treason and shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 7 years or both. Therefore, by the authority vested in you, Letitia James, as the New York State Attorney General, and by the New York State Constitution, the laws of New York State, and the United States Constitution, and having knowledge of civil rights abuses, human rights abuses, federal crimes, which include felonious and treasonous acts which have been perpetrated against the countless children and families which consist of the people of the State of New York, we demand that you cease desist, and repeal the New York State family court system immediately. Assist in providing resources for the immediate criminal investigation and prosecutions of the following mentioned judges. Now, I'm going to read off these judges, but I want you guys that are watching, because there's a whole bunch of people. I want you guys to please, I want you guys to make sure that you submit your judges and CPS workers, anybody, law enforcement, anyone that's harmed your families needs to go on this, and you're going to do it as an additional paper to this. Number 1, Anthony McGinty, Ulster County.
Off the bench.
Number 2,
Say it again, the name.
Anthony McGinty, Ulster County. Marion O. Mizell, Ulster County. Carrie Savona, Ulster County. Joan Piccarillo, Queens County. Lori Courier Woods, Orange County.
Off the bench.
Read it.
And now
here's an all-time favorite.
This is my number 1, Joan Posner of Dutchess County.
Joan Posner, Dutchess County.
And Tracy McKenzie, Dutchess County. And I will also be adding to this Joseph Egito, who is the supervising judge over the 9th Judicial District. He's also going to be added to this as well.
We have Michael McGuire, Sullivan County.
Judge?
I'm gonna
Courier Woods.
Oh, you're Joan Courier Woods.
Lori Courier Woods.
Lori Courier Woods. Yeah, we have a lot on Lori. I should have had you read it. You want to say it? You say it.
Lori Courier Woods.
Yeah,
Gotta go.
I have a pattern of abuse that comes to me. See, the judges that I'm reading to you guys now, I just want to let you know, these judges are the ones that have the most severe pattern of abuse in the state of New York. That doesn't mean that there's some I've missed, and I know that there's a lot more than what we have on this list. But these are the ones that I get the most insanity. They act out, they practically phone from the mouth. They do some crazy things, they make the perfect opposite of normal renderings and orders. They put people in bondage. They're horrible. Tracy McKenzie, we said. Sharon M. Lavallo of Erie County. Mary M. Tarantelli of Chemung County. Spiro Pines of Broome County. Michael Sullivan of Chattatoga County. Alana Grubel, Kings County. That's judge right there. She has her husband, Mr. I think it's Ron Zimmerman. He owns an adoption agency, so he steals Jewish children, gives them to his wife so she can have them into adoption.
Oh, that's just
Peter DeLizzo. This guy had to put a little special note by. He's Staten Island. He gave custody to a sex offender wanted by the Interpol. Okay, his mother and child are protected in Russia. Think of that. Who's the communist country now? Yeah. John Brennan.
What's the name of that judge?
That judge again is Peter DeLizzo of Staten Island. It's all over the internet. John Brennan of Herkimer County. I've court watched him too. Leonard Steinman of Nassau County. Matthew Cooper, Jennifer Sketcher. These are all Nassau County. And referee Marilyn Sugarman, Nassau County. Janet DeFiore, the Chief Judge of New York State. She has been given notice on this for years and years and years, and most of the time by me. And finally, she's doing the Excellence Initiative. Okay. Lawrence Marks.
What is her name?
Janet DeFiore, New York State. And then we've got Lawrence Marks, Peter H. Moulton, Deborah Kaplan, and Patrick O. Sullivan of Madison County. So that's what we have right now. If anybody has a judge I didn't name, you guys can name that judge. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Francisco. Thank you. And I want to say something.
I turn it on you so you can do
No, it's clearer from me.
Christine Clark.
You want to hold it?
Schenectady County.
Go ahead, say it.
Christine Clark, Schenectady County, promoted
Say it again.
Christine Clark, Schenectady County Family Court, promoted to Supreme Court by our governor after the abduction of my daughter.
Which governor?
Governor Cuomo. And also Richard Rivera in Albany County. Both of those judges were primarily the ones behind the abduction and trafficking of my child.
Same. I'm a grandparent.
A loving grandma.
Thank you.
Who's the judge?
Judge Deborah Hendages, and then Mark Montour on top of it. Her sister was murdered in a domestic violence relationship, and she's the chief judge of IDV court in New York, in Erie County. She, with no evidence, no due process, did she take my agreed upon 50-50 schedule and give me 1 hour a week supervised visits. It took me almost 88 days to see my kids for the first time. Then I was on 1 hour a week supervised visits for a year. And then they made me, I stopped going because they wouldn't let me give my children these t-shirts that I made for my Valentine's Day. So I went without seeing my kids for 144 days. And then the judge gives me 3 hour a week supervised visits at $100 an hour. So it's costing me $300 a week to visit with my kids in my own backyard.
That is so ridiculous.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Anthony Sabelli. I've been affected by this through a family law attorney as well as a divorce attorney, which I see as a major conflict of interest. And she used CPS, ACS of Jamaica Queens to lie against me so bad. I've had to go on, I've been sent to the psych ward. They said that I didn't even show up with my wife the day we first saw them, which I did. I've had to beat a criminal case as a result of this.
Who's that she?
Who's she? Oh, Alyssa Eisner. I actually have multiple counsel on my case. There's Alyssa Eisner of...
the judge?
No. The judge is Joan Piccirillo. Alyssa Eisner is one of the opposing counsel, and then I have special corporation counsel of the city, Mohammed Sheikh, Stella Bertui. I also have this other guy, Jess Rayo, and Marjan Daftery. And the thing is all of these people have been colluding, and they've placed my wife under coercion and made her believe that she would be subject to a termination of parental rights based off of one incident where I pushed in a door to enter my home, where I opened it with the key, just pushed the door, and where the hotel lock was. And these people have lied about everything since. All involvement is all lies. They've lied to my wife about me. They scared her into a divorce, and now they're trying to get me for child support. I've been accused of actually neglecting a child that I never even met yet, my second-born son. And my firstborn son I haven't seen since December 6th. And I recorded the entire incident of what happened that day, and that's where my criminal case resulted out of. And I actually beat the criminal case, showing what CPS workers were testifying to in the family court. So at this point, the reason why everyone lies in the court is because the judge is going to okay everything. And the judge, she's taken an oath on the Constitution, but we know that she's not loyal to that. She's not even loyal to the state constitution in New York because they're in severe violation of that. And her name is Judge Joan Piccirillo. And now I've, more fruit of the poisonous tree. Now I have a Supreme Court case for my divorce. And this other judge is claiming that he's innocent. His name is William Viscovich, and he's been trying to coerce me into paying child support off the record. And now I established that none of these cases in the Supreme Court are actually on the record either. They're being done in conference. Because I told the judge that he's being accessory to the crimes being committed against me. And he got scared shit, and he ran up to the bench, and he went on the record. So that's all. I just want to see my children and have access to them, and I'm not a bad guy, but this is all just terrible. I deal with countless families every day across the United States. I hear terrible acts. Now I'm actually seeing the same CPS workers that targeted me. I'm getting evidence on what they did to other people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And our hearts goes out to you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Our one and only daughter was
I'm almost
taken.
embarrassed to be human.
Our one and only daughter was taken October 15, 2018, with the claim Rockland County, New York is not part of Kings County, New York, the state of New York. Rockland County, New York, Kings County, New York, both are in the state of New York, yet the judge and CPS claim they are in two separate states. Not a reason to abduct a one and only child.
Who is involved? Who is that judge?
Penderville Jr. CPS stated the child is paralyzed. She was never paralyzed. Walked into the court unaided. Yet 2 years later, child still not returned.
I'd like you to get him. You come here and get.
Everybody knows me.
Okay.
They know my story.
I want you guys to see this picture.
Yes.
Here.
This is my daughter's mouth. It's herpes. This came from the father. And right after this photo, right after the herpes results were presented to the state police of Middletown and brought before CPS, he was automatically given full custody because I had proof against the father.
Who was given custody?
The abuser, the father.
They don't care.
Herpes. She
What
can
is
never
her
get rid
name?
of
What
it.
is her first name?
My daughter, Christabella.
Christabella, may God be with you and bring you back to a loving mother.
And Casper, my son. And she's with him now. She's with him now.
And she's with that bastard?
Yes, she's with him. Did you want to say anything? Did you want
Yeah.
Okay.
2 minutes, 2 minutes.
Yeah, did you want to say anything further? Go ahead.
Served less than 12 hours. I begged Lori Curry Woods. I said, adjournment. May I please have an attorney? She told me no and no. She didn't serve my husband. I'm legally married. She did not serve my husband. That there was an estranged man asking for. She said, what you're going to do is you're going to submit paternity in a few hours. Even if this man is not the father, he's going to get the. And I'll see you back in 2 months. In the meantime, I came back in 2 months. I hired an attorney. That attorney wasn't even able to speak to represent me. I was told, well, he's the father. You can't have proof of it, but he's the father, and he's going to have 50% custody. There is no trial, and he will have your kid starting to today. I begged, I pleaded, I said, please, my son is breastfeeding. Please, he wants to do this to my daughter. He wants to rape my daughter. This is all things I told CPS worker Joe Decker, which is friends with. She has done everything she could, as well as tell him that a lot of things that he does illegal was reported to the FBI so he could cover his tracks. My children was trafficked by CPS. My children was trafficked by Orange County, New York State Police. No one helped me. Wall Hill Police Department, no one helped me. Why is it that a victim can go for help and get nowhere, but an abuser can go for power and get all the power that there is in the world for innocent children? This has to stop. This has to end here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, it's okay.
Hold on, they're cutting me off. There we go. There we go, brother. You wanted to say something?
Yeah,
What area are you from?
Rockland County.
And your case is where?
It started in Kings County when we lived there 2 years ago. The case started before then. We were just holding a child who we are supporting, not our child. We were holding it with parental consent. And we are here together because parents are the first ones to take care of their children. And never again is there to be any agency or individual intruding on our parental rights.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
They tried so hard for over 3 years to prove us guilty. Want us to divorce, saying abuse, neglect. We know it's all fake. They have their agenda, defrauding the government to get money and to promote the hatred they have against certain individuals, which does not begin to start a case. It only shows incompetence on all involved in this case, and many others.
Bring our kids home now. Stop the fraud. If you want to earn $1, do it correct. Do it honestly. Do it trustworthily. Don't go behind the government and our country. Do not go against our constitutional rights. Stop imprisoning us for things we never did. Stop frauding us for things we never did. Incriminating us for things we never did.
And I'd like to add that I was a service provider of a special needs individual. It's even doubtful if he was special needs at that time. Started in 2006. I was with him for a year. After that, I've been in contact with him several times, and more recently, in the last 5 years. And we've spoke to each other as friends. I've helped him get a job. And you know what?
He's independent today.
Yeah.
I work because you have in his best interest, not with government involvement. After 12 years later, I'm dealing with him without the government. And I'm not looking to make money off him. And there are ways to make money without stealing children and making up stories.
One more thing to add. The agency who has our child has approved us for the 8th year in a row, Martin Luther King Day, January 21, 2019, 8 consecutive years as foster parents to take in special needs children, which we have till today, in our home, from Rockland County, from different parts of New York and New Jersey. We are certified, yet they kidnapped our one and only child, October 15, 2018, with zero holding.
Yep, and zero evidence, and I court watch their case every single time, so I can vouch for that. Is there one more?
My story, a judge had given custody of my child over to someone who's not her father. He's had several roles involving government clearance with high-end telecommunications companies such as AT&T. I have severe obstruction of all of my communications. I've been threatened by these judges, by law enforcement. I've been threatened by everyone involved.
Do you want to name the judges that you've been threatened by?
Christine Clark was a judge who started it all. She was in Schenectady Family County Court. She was awarded and promoted to Supreme Court by Governor Cuomo shortly after the abduction of my daughter. She was given to this pedophile, trafficked to James Doig, which is the alias he goes by. He goes by many, many different names. And I haven't seen her in 2.5 years now. I've let the court know every step of the way.
You haven't seen your daughter in
I have not seen her in 2.5 years. I don't know where she is. He refuses to tell me where she is. I've gone back to the court to Richard Rivera, a judge in Albany County, and he did all the same things that the prior judge, Christine Clark, did. And in fact, after I submitted all these petitions in 2017, I was retaliated against, as was my daughter. She has suffered black eyes,
and this is not even a
abuse after I've come forward, and I've been threatened. And it was actually Gilderland Police who forced my child to leave my home in 2017 based on a fabricated order that was electronically mailed. One of the things that they do with a lot of these cases is that they are fudging file and docket numbers. They were submitting them in different parts of the system so that they look like they're valid court orders to us, but they are not. You'll see different, I've seen missing file and docket numbers, all sorts of things. They don't go by any standard operating procedures whatsoever. And I think that's in case that they do get audited, that these things won't be brought up. There's also information to indicate that they've classified in the system my daughter as an adopted child, so that they could then hide her records and proceed much more easily as if, rather than if she was my own child. So there's all kinds of things that they've done. They've tortured us. I've been threatened not to take her to the emergency room when she's been bleeding from her vagina as a toddler. After I did that, that's when she was taken from me. I was told by Christine Clark, judge in Schenectady Family County Court, that if I dared to take her to an emergency room to be checked, that I would never see her again. And ultimately, she was right, because gradually they did just that. And since she's been fully abducted, like I said, I know she's out of the state. I've gone to the FBI.
Why did they tell you not to take it to the ER? What was that?
Because there were
That's
findings.
what they do.
There were
They do it all the
of
time. Whenever there's real findings of sexual abuse to children, they give the child to the person accused, and they restrain the one that will take it to the doctor.
And there were findings of sexual.
Why would a person that's lying about that take a child to a doctor? Think about it. I have more. Why would a child that's lying about that? Why would a mother that's lying about that, is what I meant to say, take them to a doctor if she was lying? She's going to take them because something's wrong.
And furthermore, this man who stole my daughter, who is not her father, James Doig.
Yeah, say that part again, though. That's the most important part. Is
This
that he's
man
not even
who
biological.
stole my daughter,
He's
who
not
is
even the
not
father.
her father.
For real.
Since our case has been going on, he's had several helpers, as with all these cases, aiders and abettors. Her birth certificate's been altered fraudulently. He's been added to her birth
They're a
certificate.
contract to the state anyway. But.
Yep. All the records have been changed. Medical records, I have various copies showing that there was, in fact, a diagnosis of sexual assault to my baby, and they were changed at the same time that this man worked out of the VA hospital in Albany, right next door to where I had brought her to Albany Medical Center. He had the access and ability to do this with his government clearance, and he was actually in the process of transferring all the medical records of the VA to digital form. And he was the one who held all power and control over all of the records of the hospital records, and involved in any incoming records and outgoing records. He had ultimate control over the medical records. These are the people that have been allowing and aiding and abetting all of these crimes of all these children.
Thank you. Thank you.
And her job, I want you to know, she's a school psychologist.
Yeah.
She works with special children.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
hold on a minute. Go back down. Okay, everyone, as you've heard here, let me switch this back. Exempt, and if you notice, they're going after everybody. So you CPS workers out there, you foster people and so on and so forth, don't think that you're exempt from this abuse. So we're going to actually wrap this down, okay? We're going to wrap this, but Joseph wants to say anything, and then I want to close it with some instructions. And just aim it at you. Here, we'll just do it this way.
No, aim it at her first. I want you to do something.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Please, Francisco, go give her a big hug from everybody here. The pain is enormous. It's immeasurable. You have mommy here. She has her mother. It's the most amazing thing.
And his sister came into the courthouse to serve me an order of protection, and she shoved them into my chest, and I had to go to the doctor. I called the cops. They said, it's not assault. You didn't fall to the floor.
You hear this?
So I have internal affairs complaint against her because she's an NYPD officer.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
I'm not going to call you governor.
Can you tell them who you are?
Yes. Hi, my name is Joseph. I'm simply a friend. I don't want to say a friend to humanity anymore. I'm embarrassed to be human.
Yeah.
Animals don't do this to one another.
Right.
I want to put away all formalities. No governor, no attorney general. Human to human, heart to heart. My sister Letitia, I beg you. I'm your brother Joseph. The force of life has put you in a position where you can alter the course of savagery that human beings are capable of. You have an opportunity to better the world. I plead with you on behalf of these innocent fathers and mothers. I mean, I want to ask something. Who carries 9 months pregnancy, brutal pain and challenges, and then goes on an altar to give life and beautify the Creator's world? Isn't that a mother? I'm even ashamed to be here as a father. I don't merit to stand in the presence of any mother. They are sacred beings. They are divine creatures that make God's world. Sister Letitia James, I plead with you. Make the world better. You have it within you. If you were chosen for the job, you can do it. Bypass all the bureaucratic cruelty. See the truth. See life surpassing the coveting money. See it, and history will be very, very beautiful to you, because history is a fair judge. We trust you will do so. Please, on behalf of these fathers and mothers, suicide, drugs, for my community that I know, sometimes I think of myself to go into an island, Letitia, and I don't want to see it anymore. I can't bear the pain of the people. I cannot bear the pain of humanity. Suffering, it's cruel, fathers and mothers. How could the world go by? I wake up in the morning, hear my friends, a one and only child, God Almighty, 16 years she tends to other children, 14 years he tends to other children, and all these wonderful souls here. I'm embarrassed to be human. May God Almighty send you the wisdom and the strength, because you have it, Letitia. You were here for a job. They're powerful enough to make you humble because you can do it. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Guys, in closing, anyone that wants to add to what we have just served here in the Attorney General's office, you can get a hold of me. I'll have an email here shortly on this on this live. Thank you everybody for sharing. This is a message right now to all New Yorkers. We do want to take this nationwide, as this tyranny is across the country, it's across the world. This is the doorway, gateway to the child trafficking that we see. But I do want to say to all New Yorkers that are watching, this is very important. If she does not comply with this sworn affidavit that we served her with today, then I would like all of you to join us, because we're going to rise up even stronger. We are huge. We are very large. I know, because I'm the one that court watches all the judges all over this state and this country. So I know how large we are. I know how many complaints I get, and I know that everybody can't be wrong. This is everybody it's affecting. So New York, get ready, because by Friday morning, if the family courts aren't shut down, we're meeting back here, okay? We're meeting back here. Thank you guys. God bless everybody.